College was a bit of a wake-up call for me. Um, the coursework was very different than when I was in high school, and when I was in high school, I didn't really take it as seriously as I should have. But I think what really had to do with it was I didn't know what I wanted to do. I originally wanted to do theater, so I didn't really take my academics as seriously as I should have. And then later I wanted to do business, until I started considering law school. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do a business degree, and then I'm gonna go to law school for business law." And so I was like, "Okay, maybe I should really start, locking in because law school is pretty hard and it's gonna be super expensive, so I should really take it seriously." I started reading more books, and, my senior year of high school, I started taking things very seriously with my grades. But half of my high school was online and half of it was in person because I went to high school during the COVID era. And then once I went into college, again, it was a wake up call because the coursework, even if you're taking like a pretty simple class, like it's just more vigorous and you're not used to doing your homework. Well, I wasn't used to doing my homework the night before, making study times to do my homework or to study for an exam, things like that. I was used to being in high school and doing my work very mediocre, doing my homework like a couple periods before or studying the material, going over the material like a period before my exam. So I wasn't used to actually doing something, actually preparing for exams and courses and things like that. With that, I want to welcome you to the Semester Diaries podcast. I am your host, Emma Williams. I am a junior. Well, I'm about to enter my junior year in college, which is a crazy sentence. I am a health sciences major and I am hoping to get into pharmacy school. So that is the goal with my classes. I'm taking a couple prerequisites this semester, and so I just wanted to create this podcast to help students like me or just anyone who might be struggling with staying motivated in class or school in general with a semester, especially college students, because I feel like once you get that freedom, it's very easy to fall off track, falling back into bad habits that maybe you developed in high school or maybe like a first generation student. I'm a first generation student, so I didn't have a lot of guidance into the college environment. I remember I had issues with my lab class. I didn't know the expectations of a college lab class, and that became an issue for my semester. And I didn't do a lot of labs in high school also because again, most of it was online. Or even if you're not a first generation student and you just have issues with motivation in class, you just don't know what you want to do. Whenever you don't know what to do, it really affects your motivation towards getting courses done. So you're like, why am I taking these classes? I don't even know what I want to do? So, career, pointing you towards the right career, maybe giving you different career options, showing you tips on how to study at certain times, keeping yourself organized, things like that. Because again, these are things that may be common sense to someone, but to other people, it just might not, like me. So I start school next week. Today is Thursday, August 14th. You'll be seeing this on Monday, August 18th, when I start school. I'm sitting here just prepping some things for the semester, so I don't have a snack or a drink. Feel free to go ahead and grab your snack, chill, clean your room. In the future, maybe do your homework while you listen to this podcast. But yeah, before we get started, I do want to just do a small segment where every week I tell you what I've been obsessed with. And of course, it has something to do with academics because that's what this podcast is about. This week, I have been so obsessed with Notion. If you haven't heard of Notion, it is basically, I mean, to make it short and simple, it's a note-taking app, but it's more than that. It's way more than that. It's an organization app. It can be a calendar app. Um, it has many templates, so it's been very useful for which I'll talk about it more because this is precisely what our episode is about. But it really has been useful with getting prepared for the semester. Again, I start school on Monday, so I've been going over my syllabus and making notes, things like that, preparing my notebooks for my different classes that I'll be taking, and specifically helping me with managing episodes for this podcast. It can be very overwhelming using Notion sometimes whenever you're first getting into it, but once you learn how to use it, And there's a lot of templates that are available. It's such a convenient tool and resource to use for literally anything, but specifically academics. It's just so great. And everything that we're going to talk about, organization wise and planning wise, you can use Notion for all of it. So, Notion, sponsor me if you're watching this. So, for this first episode of the Semester Diaries, I want to talk to you about starting off the semester strong, having a that girl semester because it gets hard. Summer is not very long, and I feel like every semester that I've been through college or every year that I've been in college so far, every summer feels shorter. Like this summer feels like it has just flown by. Usually I feel like whenever I go back to school in the fall, I feel like I'm kind of itching to go back to school because you I get a little bit tired of doing nothing. But this summer, I felt like I've done nothing. So, during the summer, enough to chill. So, last semester was a little rough, so I'm struggling to get ready for this semester. It's very important to start off strong. These tips and methods will help you set yourself up for the semester. And just setting up a good system to make sure you have like your notes, making sure you're taking your notes in a certain way for just certain classes, and just knowing where you're going to study, where you work best, when you work best, having a routine, etc. We're going to be talking about all of that today. Starting off with that mindset prep. Prep your mindset. If you don't prep your mind, then it'll be hard to even have the willpower to do the rest of the things on my list of tips and methods. Couple ways that res- you can prep your mindset is just think about every semester that you've possibly had. Especially if you're already in college, every semester in college is very different. Well, if you're in high school, it might be a little bit more difficult because when you're in high school, you might take the same class for 2 semesters. Like your math class might be literally with the same teacher for 2 semesters, history class, whatever. Once you get to college, every semester is usually going to be very different from the other semester. I've been through 4 semesters of college, and every single semester has been very different vibes. And fall is always a great start. Also, I'm starting a new school this year. Again, as I said, I went to community college, so this year I'm going to a university, so it'll be a very fresh start. Along with that, you need to glow up your workspace wherever you're going to be doing your homework at home. Make sure it's just tidy and clean. Um, Again, this will set you up to make sure that you build a habit, which we'll get into habits, but that you can build a habit to put things away whenever you use things. That's how clutter starts to happen and just not putting things in its place. So, again, set yourself up by cleaning up your workspace right before the semester begins. And if you're coming into a dirty room every day to do your homework, you probably won't be the most motivated to do it if you're in a very polluted space. Even if it's like a couple weeks or anything, just start tidying up little by little. It can be hard because I'm not the best at keeping my room clean at all times, especially my desk. Usually my desk is what gets the most mess accumulated, or just like the week before, little like day by day, take a couple things, organize them, get rid of things that you don't need. Sometimes we hold on to things that we maybe purchased or that we have had for a long time. We're like, we haven't used it enough. But if you're not using it, if you haven't used it in the last like 5 months and you know you're not going to use it for the next year or so, I would just, donate it. Like a random candle that you have, a random like pencil holder organizer thing that you might not use. Sometimes like a random decoration piece just doesn't fit my room's aesthetic anymore. And I'm just holding on to it because I had it since I was like 12. But sometimes you just need to get rid of it. Okay. um, Moving on. I'm not the biggest fan of consumerism because that is very big right now with TikTok and influencing and all these things. But sometimes, if just buying yourself a new outfit or some cute school supplies is going to help, then by all means, just grab a couple cute school supplies, an outfit for the first day of school, a couple outfits for the first week or so, just to really get you in the headspace. Again, sometimes you need to for whatever works for you. If you need to dye your hair, I dyed my hair. If you need to do your nails for the beginning of the semester, something that will help you spruce you up for the beginning and reset that mindset. Along with that, take care of yourself the week before, a couple weeks before the semester starts. Again, that takes entails doing your nails, do a face mask, drink a lot of water, start waking up early maybe, and cleaning your room really goes into that. just taking care of yourself the week before. Making a mood board is also huge. If you're very visually driven, a mood board is always great, and you can always set it up as, like, your laptop's wallpaper or your lock screen on your phone or your iPad, things like that, and just make a mood board. Again, I love fall, so usually at the beginning of, like, the fall semester, I like to make a mood board with, like, a library and, like, straight A's and, like, fall leaves and just, like, fall vibes. Go on Pinterest. Pinterest has all kinds of great pictures, and just make a mood board. Set your intentions for the beginning of the semester. I had an academic advisor through a program that I was part of in my community college. And at the beginning of every semester, she would have me set my intentions. We would set 3 goals that I wanted to do. I don't know, something like have all A's and B's for the semester, get a car this semester, blah 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 this semester, you know? And then at the end of the semester, we would go over it because we would meet monthly. At the end of the semester, we would go over it and be like, okay, what goals did we meet? What could we do better for next semester? What did we like about the semester, etc. And I feel like a lot of us need that. Not everyone in my school had that because it was a specific program. Make your goals, set your intentions, and then at the end of the semester, really reflect. Or the first month of school, reflect. What have you done? What could you do better for the rest of the semester? Things like that. And then I also kind of already mentioned this, but just refreshing your devices. Every semester, I like to make a mood board to make for my computer lock screen and just setting things up on your computer that might be helpful. If you have like Canvas as your learning system, there's a whole bunch of Google Chrome extensions to make it cute and just a whole bunch of things, just whatever's going to work for you for your aesthetic. I really just like personalizing things, my academic things, making my email pink, things like that, just to kind of get me in the mood again. You know what I mean? So we've set our intentions, we have prepped our mindset. Now we're moving on to course prepping. This semester, I'm taking organic chemistry, biology, calculus, and a theater appreciation class. I do have a little bit of a full schedule. I have a couple hard classes. I think I'm mainly worried about like calculus because I have not taken a math class since like 2023, and organic chemistry because I always struggle in chemistry. So we're gonna have to really prep for these courses, okay? So first you need to find yourself a any type of planning platform. That can be Apple Calendar, Google Calendar, Notion, a digital calendar or planner, a physical planner. You can make a digital calendar on your iPad if you have one. Anything that will work for you. I will say for my calendar, I do like to use Google Calendar because you can usually link it to like your learning system, and any assignments that are coming up due, you can just link it to your Google Calendar, and Google Calendar can give you notifications and you'll know whenever an assignment is coming up. But if you prefer to use a different platform like Apple Maps, anything like that, just make sure you have some type of calendar platform so that you can plan everything. Plan where your time block your class times, time block your study times, which we'll get into that as well. You'll start building a routine. Time block your free times, time block your breaks, time block your walks with your dog, time block your job time if you have a job, you know, things like that. If you don't want to get too specific, at least just with your courses and your assignments so that you won't miss. That's like one of my biggest things. One of my biggest one of my biggest flaws is that I sometimes don't plan all of my assignments and everything. So I will accidentally miss an assignment and be like, I totally thought this was due in like 2 weeks and it's actually due today. So sometimes that happens, and the best way for me to keep it in check is to have it on a planning platform like Google Calendar. Kind of tying into this as well. Again, I'm very forgetful when it comes to remembering when assignments are due because I just have so many things going on in my head. Making an assignment tracker. As soon as your syllabus is available on your learning system, go ahead and open it up, take a look at it, see what's going on, take a vibe for your class, um, read it over, and take notes. Take notes of your syllabus. Put it where on a document, on a page that you're going to access every day. If you need to take notes on your planner, your physical planner, your digital planner, on your daily notebook for that class, a digital notebook for that class, anything, a page that you're going to access every day so that you can remember key things from that syllabus. For example, the professor's email, contact info, the professor's office hours, the professor's policy on absences, the professor's policy on late work, the main method of instruction. Like, is it mainly going to be lectures? Sometimes professors just have like weekly assignments. Like, I'm going to give you this weekly assignment. Like, you already know that you're going to get these weekly assignments. So I would take notes on that. That way, you don't have to go back into your learning system every time you forget something and have to go look for it because syllabi can be very long, and you have to use Control F a lot. I have to use Control F a lot whenever I have to research something on a syllabus. Another tip I have for you is finding your note-taking methods. I have a certain way of writing notes on my iPad, I have a certain way of writing notes on my physical notebooks, and I have a certain way of writing notes if I'm typing them out. But it also just depends what class you're taking and what you will apply that for. I usually like to take notes by doing like a subheading and then kind of making an arrow with little points under it. But I feel like this note-taking way really applies for courses like, biology and, like, humanities classes or, like, English, you know? So maybe for, like, a class like physiology, you'll write down, like, the subheading, the intestinal tract, you know, we're learning about that. You'll start with, like, the stomach, and then you'll write down what the stomach does. You'll write down esophagus, what the esophagus does, the small intestine, right, and do little subpoints of like what that does. You know what I mean? That's kind of the system that I like to do, but that would apply more to those types of classes. But specifically also with like biology classes, anatomy, physiology, micro microbiology, I feel like a lot of those classes have to do with memorization. Great resource for those types of classes would be making flashcards. I know a lot of people use Anki. I haven't gotten quite into it yet, but flashcards in general. I do like to use Quizlet Plus. They do have a great AI feature where you can just submit your notes or your PowerPoint and then it'll make like flashcards for you. When it comes to English or like psychology classes, theater classes, things like that, I would say a similar system of note taking is very helpful for those types of classes, but I wouldn't say that there's much of a memorization component to it. You kind of just go over the material before an exam and just applying that material to your writing. I feel like in a theater class, you might write a paper on a certain musical, or in English, obviously, you write essays. So just applying what your notes what notes you have taken, just going over the notes and applying that to your essay. The math classes and science classes like chemistry, physics, calculus, algebra, geometry, blah blah blah, I like to use method sheets. If they have a slideshow, I like to annotate the slideshow with my iPad as we go over it in class. And then I would like to make method sheets. So for like um, a chemistry class, I would like to make a method sheet that explains how to convert grams into moles. You know, that's very basic. But yeah, making a method sheet and then just doing a whole bunch of practice problems, writing down steps on how to convert grams to moles. First, you'll do this, and then you'll do this. That way, I can apply that to whenever I'm doing practice problems. I can take a look at my method sheet and be like, okay. And then just a lot of repetition. Because once you do a lot of practice problems, it'll be like second nature whenever you're actually doing those problems in class or doing those problems on an exam. But there is still that understanding aspect of a class like chemistry where you still have to understand why why you're converting from grams to moles, you know? So I would still take a couple notes. Honestly, annotating my slideshows really helps. Then I would also say over the summer or just a few weeks before to research your challenging classes or all of your classes, but specifically your challenging classes. Like again, some of my challenging classes are definitely going to be calculus and organic chemistry. Maybe just watching a couple videos. You don't even have to really get into it and do like a whole summer homework thing, learn the material by yourself, but just kind of learning a couple basics about it. A crash course, literally with Hank Green. He does crash courses on quite literally every topic. And I do have like some of my favorite like chemistry YouTubers like Marissa Maribel, Bozeman Science, the chemistry tutor. They're my faves. So just watching a couple of videos, maybe taking a couple notes. Honestly, TikTok is a great resource too. Like sometimes I just research like a class on TikTok and then they'll just give me just some tips on how to pass the class. Obviously, those tips don't apply to everyone, but just kind of learning about other people who have experienced the class is always great to know. Now, the last part that I wanted to get into is creating a routine. Now, this is very difficult for me because I am very much type B. I would say I'm more type B than type A, and I tend to just kind of go with the flow of things. But at the end of the day, having a routine is very effective in your studies and making sure you're on track with getting your homework done, studying before an exam, not forgetting assignments, etc. So, if you struggle with having a routine, I would say start with small, achievable goals. Like, I'm going to sleep for 7 hours this day or this week. I'm going to sleep for 7 hours. Or I'm going to finish two assignments before lunch, right? And kind of just building from there. Along with that, I think starting a good routine can be enforced with having a great morning ritual, or morning routine. I feel like your morning routine is always going to set you up for the day in general. Again, it's hard. I have such a difficult time waking up early. This semester, I'm definitely gonna have to wake up super early. So I'm trying to start getting into a morning routine, but it's not easy. Yeah, getting that good morning routine in, waking up, making your bed as soon as you wake up. That's always a great tip because I always have the tendency to get back in bed when I have some free time. But if I make my bed, then I kind of just lay on top and I don't really get, comfy. Brushing your teeth as soon as you wake up. You're going to get ready in the morning with some makeup, do your hair, waking up at at a good time to do all of that because I am very guilty of waking up like 30 minutes before school and just doing the bare minimum to get ready. But yeah, a lot of people, if you look good, then you feel good and you will complete your assignments, get through that day pretty great. Understand what your professor is talking about if like because you just feel good. So and I mean I get it. I really do get it. And that's what I will definitely be working on this semester. And then this point kind of ties in with what I had mentioned about blocking your time to manage the time that you'll be studying, doing homework, etc. But really planning your homework sessions. That way you won't just be doing homework at willy-nilly times. Again, I'm also very guilty of just doing homework right before bed and then just like, going to sleep. I think I would definitely benefit from putting a certain time and putting a curfew on finishing my homework. That way I will be doing homework right before bed, which can be a cause for a lot of people for burnout. Really just setting that time for homework, if you know you have like a gap before these two classes, maybe just going over the lecture that you just went through in that first class, or maybe getting assignment done very quickly that can be done in that time frame, or starting it, or doing like an outline for an essay, things like that. And then maybe you get out of class at 2 for the day, so maybe you do homework from, like, 2 to 4, 2 to 5, being done for the rest of the day. Along with that, you need to be focused while having those time blocks. It's really hard, which again is why it's hard for me to not do homework towards the end of the day because if I time block and I'm like, "Okay, do my homework," but then I get super distracted by my phone, and then I'm like, "Well, I can just do my homework later." So getting rid of distractions. Getting rid of your phone, letting your phone die, maybe, or sometimes doing a time lapse of yourself doing homework or studying is always a great method because then you have a nice time lapse right after you're done and you won't interrupt your own time lapse. I know there's also a couple of apps that help keep you on track, like the forest app, you grow your trees or like you grow your flowers and then if you get on your phone, then it dies. There's like the Pomodoro method. I actually really like this method. It does like little increments of time. Like the basic one is like 25 minutes on studying, being focused, and then 5 minutes of break, 25 minutes. And then some people do like 30 minutes and then 10 minutes break, 30 minutes. I think I kind of like to do that one a little bit more. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of YouTube videos that have like a Pomodoro timer and they'll do like study with me. I love watching like I don't watch them, more like I listen to them, but I love, like, the cafe ambiance videos on YouTube, where they're just, like, studying in a cafe and you can hear, like, the ambiance of the cafe, the espresso machine, whatever, and there's a Pomodoro timer. Some people like Harry Potter, so they'll listen to, like, POV, you're in Hogwarts, and it's like a Pomodoro timer, but you're, like, in the Hogwarts ambiance or just white noise. So, whatever works for you, find it. YouTube is, again, a great resource to find those types of things. Maybe I'll get into making some study with me videos as well to keep myself on track. I did kinda mention this one already, but another great habit to have is going over your lectures right after your class period. So if you just had a lecture on a certain topic and it's a brand new topic right after class, if you have some time, just going over what you learned. I feel like in that way you kind of grasp the concept a little bit more because it was just explained to you as opposed to being in class like, "Okay, I understand what is being explained to me right now," and then a couple hours later, you're at home studying, you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna go over this material," and then it's like, "Wait, why is this again?" I don't understand. So, just kind of going over it right after class reinforces that memory in your brain. I would definitely, if you have time in your schedule, or if you can plan out your schedule in a certain way to have time after class to go over your lectures, that is one of the biggest tips that I can give you, specifically for the more difficult classes like math classes and chemistry classes, like science classes, because that material is very hard to absorb into your brain, at least for me. So that was also a very big help. Also, if you have the privilege of not working, that is awesome. I am so happy for you. I unfortunately do have to work while I am in college, but I do try to reduce my workload a little bit at my job. Luckily, I have a very understanding boss and just a great job in general. Obviously, I make less. But if you have the privilege of being able to reduce your workload at work or just not working at all, that's awesome. But if you just have the opportunity to reduce your workload at work, that is always great. For like my second semester of college, I got a little bit desperate and I was like, I'm just going to work a whole bunch because I was making so much less my first semester. And I was like, I'm just going to work a whole bunch. But in turn, that did affect my grades. And I think I would rather keep my grades than make a whole bunch of money that I'm going to spend on food and clothes. So I would say if you are able to, definitely reduce that workload and focus on your academics. And then lastly, just plan some hobbies. In your schedule and that time blocking, plan a time to pursue one of your hobbies, activities, extracurriculars, whatever. I'm gonna audition for some of the theater productions at my college. So I'm sure that'll take up some of my time and it won't just be all academics and things. But if you like to, I don't know, go on runs. Plan a time to go run in the morning or after class, or I don't know, if you like to play an instrument, I don't know, make some time to do that. I think also content creation is going to take up a lot of time for me, so that will be another one of my hobbies that I'll be doing to kind of avoid that burnout because if you're just school, 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 I feel like there's definitely a spectrum. Um I don't think you should ever be on any end of the spectrum. I think a good resting spot and wherever you are is fine, but I think a good resting spot is, like, kind of between the middle and kind of between the intense side, caring about your grades, but also your grades not being your entire life, you know? So, just plan some hobbies and don't just always focus on school, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I would say those are my main 3 methods to starting off strong this semester to have your that girl semester. Um, Prepping your mindset, prepping your doing some course prep, and maintaining or starting a routine. I wish all of you guys luck on your semester. You guys might be starting school this week on the 18th when this video comes out, or you might be starting school next week. I'm not sure when you're starting. I hope this can help you out. I hope you guys have a good semester. You guys need to be brave. Whenever I have to do something that's so difficult, it's kind of silly, but whenever I have to do something difficult, like, I struggle so much to get out of bed in the morning, but I literally have to tell myself, like, "You have to be a brave girl, like, you're a brave girl," you know? Or, like, if I have to literally just walk my dog and it's, like, super hot outside, I'm like, I have to be brave, okay? Just be brave and just go outside, okay? Like, you just have to do it, okay?" But, yeah, I am so excited to launch this podcast, to kick off this podcast, with this episode, and I hope this helps you a little bit, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Be brave. Bye.